Lu Luo wore a pensive expression upon hearing Han Li and faintly recalled something. Luo Han slowly asked, "What is this material? Please tell us, fellow Daoist Han. I need auric essence to refine my magic treasure. The more, the better. But don't worry, I am willing to trade items of equal value for it. I will not take it for nothing. The Alliance only needs to use their resources to help me collect the auric essence, or perhaps find its whereabouts." Having been unable to acquire a large amount of auric essence and refine the aureate sword formation, Han Li felt extremely frustrated by the matter. Now that this opportunity presented himself, he wished to use it to its fullest extent. Auric essence! Those present all revealed unconcealable shock upon hearing Han Li. This illustrious treasure known as honed gold was about what they had expected, but they were stunned from hearing such a heaven-defying material, nonetheless. Old man Kwong frowned and wore a puzzled expression. "Fellow Daoist Han, the magic treasure you wish to temper requires such a vast amount of auric essence? Do you know how much a magic treasure's power increase after only infusing a small quantity of it? And if you add too much, it won't have any further effects." Han Li calmly said, "Don't worry. I already know this. I merely wish to ask whether your alliance would be able to gather together a certain quantity of this item." Long Han shook his head with a sigh. "Since fellow Daoist Han is willing to evenly trade for it, we can certainly be on the lookout for any information to help you gather together the material if we can. However, when such items are acquired, they are normally consumed immediately. From your tone, it seems you require much of it. I fear this will be quite difficult to do. Even if information of auric essence exists, their masters may keep quiet on account of wishing to acquire it themselves. It will be difficult to find. That is why only such a small amount was found at the recent trade meet." When Han Li heard this, his heart sank. He had already considered the problem, but he had no methods of dealing with them. He was at a complete loss over the matter. If he truly couldn't acquire a large amount of auric essence in the heavenly south, he may have to travel to the rumored Jin Empire or other great continents in his search. Since the Jin Empire was about 10 times larger than the heavenly south, perhaps he would be able to find a large amount of auric essence there. Not to mention that he still had the bone case he received in the Umbra realm that contained the refinement method for the spirit subjugation talisman. If he returned to the Jin Empire, he would naturally want to return it to the heavenly talisman sect. Han Li felt a wave of gloominess upon hearing this. Seeing Han Li's hesitant expression, Lu Luo couldn't help but console him. "Junior Martial Brother Han, let's change the condition. Auric essence isn't something that can be easily sought." Han Li unconsciously frowned when he heard him. After a moment of thought, he shook his head and said, "Regardless, auric essence is extremely important to me. Even if the chances are slim, I still want the Alliance to agree to this matter." Once this was said, he wore a resolute expression. Seeing that Han Li made up his mind, Long Han eventually nodded. "Since fellow Daoist Han decided, I will order the Alliance's disciples to spare no effort over this matter. However, please don't regret this decision if we aren't able to find even a single piece of auric essence. Despite the great superpower the Heavenly Dao Alliance may be, the most it could do was order its low-grade disciples around and pay particular attention to any news that may surface. Since this matter wouldn't prove particularly draining, Old Man Kwong and the others raised no objections. However, they also felt that this alone wasn't enough to compensate. They promptly took out a bag of over 100 mid-grade spirit stones as well. Han Li took it with a smile. With this resolved, a friendly atmosphere appeared in the hall. The Heavenly Dao Alliance cultivators chatted for the time being. Eventually, detailed questions about the battle at the Yellow Dragon Mountains were being asked, particularly about the Black-Robed Man and the Mulan Divine Sage. With no intent to conceal this, Han Li answered their questions once through. Of course, he brushed past any mention of his techniques and treasures, and Long Han and the others didn't press him. However, they were doubtful when they heard that the Black-Robed Man weren't heretical demon or ghost cultivators. Long Han was particularly surprised to hear that they were merely Devil Dao cultivators. When a half-day had passed, Han Li and Lu Luo eventually took their leave. Shortly after they departed, a voice transmission talisman suddenly shot towards Lu Luo's hand. Lu Luo gave Han Li a helpless smile and said, "I have urgent business to attend to. I'm afraid I can't continue to keep your company. Junior Martial Brother Han should take a stroll around the city. Let us have a proper chat when night comes." Han Li kindly smiled in response. "Senior Martial Brother Lu, please don't mind me. I also wish to go take a look at the city alone." Feeling relieved, Lu Luo saluted Han Li and hastily flew off in a streak of light. The matter seemed truly important. As Han Li watched Lu Luo depart, he shook his head, but after some thought, he smiled instead. He pondered for a moment as he looked at the sky before heading towards the city's central district. But after taking a few steps, he stopped and slowly turned around to face Mountain Lord Song, who stood at the entrance of a nearby alley. She stood there with bit lips and a hesitant expression. Han Li blinked and waved at the woman. With a moment more of hesitation, she walked over with lithe steps. The beautiful woman respectfully shouted, "Junior pays her respects to Martial Uncle Han. How long have you been waiting here?" Han Li looked at the woman's face with hands behind his back. The woman lowered her head and softly replied, "It has been about an hour already." Han Li glanced around and calmly said, "It seems you have something you wish to say to me. However, this isn't a good place to talk. Follow me." Without waiting for her reply, he began walking. The woman's expression wavered for a moment before she closely followed after him. Once Han Li brought her to a secluded place, he turned around and said, "What is it that you wish to say?" The woman kept silent for a moment before taking out a jade slip from her robes and handing it over to Han Li. "Someone had this martial niece pass on a letter to martial uncle. They wish to see you." "A letter?" Han Li wore a face of surprise and swept his spiritual sense past the item. However, he didn't immediately sink his spiritual sense into it. He stared at the woman and asked, "Who gave this to you? You must know." With the jade slip no longer in her hands, she managed to retain her calm. "It is a good friend of mine. She says that she knows you and wishes to pass something on to you." "She knows me." Han Li narrowed his eyes and his expression stirred. After pondering with a tilted head, he eventually pressed the jade slip against his head and looked into it. A short moment later, he was wearing an odd expression on his face. "Where is she? Bring me to her." The woman blinked and astonishedly said, "Martial Uncle truly recognizes my friend." Han Li casually said, "That's right. There is some friendship between us. I didn't think that Martial niece Song would know her." Spirits roused, she sweetly smiled and said, "I met her in only the last 2 years. I originally believed it to be a joke that she knew you. I didn't think that it would be true. I've arranged an empty place for her outside of the city. I'll bring you to her." Afterwards, Han Li and the woman walked towards the city gate one by one. After they left Sky First City, the woman took to the skies and led Han Li south. They traveled tens of kilometers before arriving at a small, uninhabited valley. The entrance of the valley was enveloped in a pure white mist, concealing its interior from sight. The woman surnamed Song silently waved her hand as she grabbed onto a command talisman. The streak of red light then shot into the mist and caused it to roll away and reveal a narrow green path. The woman respectfully stood to the side and said, "Martial Uncle, please go first." With Han Li's current spiritual sense, he clearly saw everything within the valley. He wore a slight smile on his face and walked down the path. This exquisite valley wasn't large. It was only a mere 300 meters in an area with nothing aside from several small buildings at its center, making it appear only as a temporary residence. Yet, it was completely clean near the buildings with not a single weed to be found. However, someone in the room was alarmed by the formation being broken. In a blur, a gorgeous, yellow-robed woman emerged from the building. As the woman appeared before Han Li, her name appeared in his mind. She was Mai Ning, who traveled with him from the Umbra realm to the heavenly south. Her beauty became more captivating over the few years he hadn't seen her. This junior was only able to reach her current cultivation because of the pills that senior gave me in the past. At that moment, Cultivator Song walked up from behind Han Li and spoke in a familiar manner, "Little sister Mai, is fellow Daoist violet spirit inside?" This caused Han Li to look at her with slight surprise. Not daring to neglect the two, Mai Ning wore an apologetic expression and said, "Senior Song, elder sister violet spirit is currently cultivating inside her room, but her cycle should be done soon. How about you two wait in my room for now?" Han Li raised no objections. With his spiritual sense, he was able to see from Violet Spirit's spiritual chi fluctuations that she was on the verge of finishing a cultivation cycle. The two then entered one of the stone buildings under Mai Ning's modest invitation and they both took a seat. Afterwards, Mai Ning quickly steeped a cup of tea for each of them. Han Li took a sip of tea and calmly asked, "Lady Mai, where have you and Violet Spirit been cultivating these past few years? Could it be that the two of you haven't yet entered a sect?" Standing at Han Li's side, Mai Ning lowered her head and replied, "Big Sister Violet Spirit and I had a discussion about this. We will first observe the great sects of the Heavenly South and consolidate our cultivation before deciding on a sect. As such, we've been traveling in the last few years. After all, the circumstances in the heavenly south are quite a bit different from our original home. Seeing that my Ning didn't conceal that she was a foreign cultivator, Han Li came to a realization that his martial niece Song most likely knew that they came from the scattered star seas. It seems her relationship with Violet Spirit was quite close. But upon seeing my Ning's gentle and sincere behavior, Han Li stroked his nose and felt it awkward to continue his questions. He simply turned to look at Cultivator Song at the side and smiled. You didn't bring me here on behalf of Violet Spirit just so that we could reminisce about old times, right? Otherwise, there should be no need to be so secretive and hesitant about delivering the letter. Martial uncle, Cultivator Song's complexion grew slightly red and she swallowed. My Ning revealed a trace of embarrassment. Just as she thought to say something, a woman suddenly laughed from outside the room. Brother Han, there is no need to make it so difficult for these two little sisters. In truth, it was mostly my idea to invite you here. Just after she finished speaking, Fairy Violet Spirit walked in. Her appearance was more captivating and her eyes more luminous than ever before. In truth, I should actually be calling Brother Han as senior now. However, I feel that Brother Han is a more appropriate title as your age isn't necessarily larger than mine. Brother Han certainly won't mind. Violet Spirit spoke with a smile. Having met her in Heaven Void Hall and the Umbra Realm as well as the days he spent with her in the Endless Seas, Han Li felt that she was a close friend. Han Li shot the woman an appraising glance. Despite his current cultivation at nascent soul stage, he felt his spirit shake upon seeing Violet Spirit's true appearance. She was no doubt country-shattering beauty from legend. Solely with regards to beauty, even his beloved was an entirely level lower. Of course, Nanggong Wan's calm temperament and charm belonged to a completely different category. They couldn't be compared. It makes no difference to me. However, if Lady Violet Spirit were to walk out of this valley with her true appearance, she will bring about chaos in the heavenly south. If any of those old eccentrics were to see you, I fear they would attempt to take you by force. It was in the presence of this old friend that Han Li was able to say the seldom joke. Violet Spirit smiled and gave Han Li a glance before calling out towards Cultivator Song, I've troubled you quite a bit, big sister Song. My Ning and I found it difficult to travel into Sky First City. It's nothing. Since I am also involved in this matter, exerting a bit of effort is only natural. The woman still appeared somewhat astonished. Although she knew Violet Spirit and Han Li were truly old friends, she was quite astonished to see them acting so casually with one another, and it greatly bolstered her confidence in the matter to come. At that moment, Violet Spirit sweetly smiled at Han Li and casually said, every time I see Brother Han, it seems his cultivation vastly increases each time. This unknown cultivation art of yours is truly astonishing. And now, Brother Han's resounding fame has left us at a loss for words. Rumors have spread everywhere that Brother Han's strength is greater than even a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. Is this matter true? Once that was said, Violet Spirit mysteriously smiled at Han Li, her eyes faintly revealing a trace of anticipation. Han Li's heart stirred, and he pondered for a moment. Rather than offering a direct response, he calmly asked, Lady Violet Spirit, why is the first thing you ask me is about my strength? Isn't he that too impatient? Can you tell me why you sought me out first? I hope to understand this before we move on to other matters. When she heard Han Li, she blinked and wore an embarrassed expression. I was impatient, it is true. However, this should come as no surprise. This matter is truly important. If you have the abilities of a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator or greater, our plan will have a chance to succeed. Han Li's gaze flickered and his smile disappeared. He calmly asked, what is so important? If you need my help, you may as well ask me clearly. Violet Spirit's expression grew solemn. It seems there is no need for me to say. Brother Han had already guessed. We truly sought fellow Daoist Han for help. But before this, I want to ask you a question. Not long before, did fellow Daoist Han accompany a few nascent soul eccentrics to the Mulan Plains and acquire Master Kankuan's remains? With slight surprise, Han Li asked, how do you know about that? This matter should only be known to few. My Ning sweetly smiled and said, it was something we found out from a ghost spirit sect cultivator. They are of direct lineage with a ghost spirit sect elder. He accidentally saw big sister Violet Spirit's true appearance and became entirely captivated her. There is nothing he won't say. Stupid girl, what nonsense are you saying? Violet Spirit snorted and her cheeks blushed. It seemed the two had grown quite close over the years. Han Li nodded and suspicion appeared on his face. If the ghost spirit sect is involved, this matter can't be ordinary. Violet Spirit's bright eyes flickered and she said with a sweet voice, I didn't expect brother to still be so cautious after entering nascent soul stage. I've only recently entered nascent soul stage. If I don't want to die, I must be careful. Being careful is only natural. However, why does it matter that I head to the Mulan Plains in search for treasures? Could it be that you acquired another secret from the Ghost Spirit sect? Han Li curiously asked. Seeing that Han Li was truly familiar with Violet Spirit, Cultivator Song felt less at ease and interjected herself, Martial Uncle is truly insightful. This matter involves a treasure inside Devil Fall Valley. The Ghost Spirit sect disciple unintentionally revealed this as we were talking about it. After a moment of surprise, Han Li wore an odd expression and said, Devil Fall Valley. I recall that only Master Kenkuan was able to safely leave there alive. How does the Ghost Spirit sect know of a treasure inside it? Were you not deceived? Violet Spirit's eyes shined and said, this isn't the case. At the time, we were curious and we joined hands to perform a charming technique. Not only did we manage to acquire the treasure's name, but we also found out the treasure's approximate location. As for why the Ghost Spirit sect knows of this matter, the person in question also didn't know. However, this matter is most likely true. Han Li frowned. If this matter is true, then this must be an unordinary ancient treasure. What is this treasure that you covet so greatly? The three women quickly exchanged a glance. Cultivator Song then solemnly asked, has Martial Uncle Han ever heard of the Spirit Kindle fruit? Han Li's calm expression was now replaced with astonishment. What? The Spirit Kindle fruit? If I remember correctly, the fruit itself should be extinct. However, Devil Fall Valley had been sealed since times of antiquity. Perhaps it is truly inside the valley. It seems Brother Han knows much about the spirit fruit. Then he should also know of the nature origin pill. In legend, so long as one uses this pill, they will be able to break through any bottleneck short of deity transformation stage. It is also said that cultivators who took this pill had their spiritual senses undergo a transformation and ascend to an inconceivable level. Although these rumors are unclear to the point that recorded results differ from each individual, the legend of cultivators breaking through the bottleneck was always consistent. Despite the many records throughout the ages, they all mentioned the great name of this spirit pill. It is a pity that the main ingredient to refine it, the Spirit Kindle fruit, was extremely difficult to find even in the age of antiquity. Although the pill formula was preserved, it remained unused for eras. Despite their former knowledge of this matter, Cultivator Song and Mai Ning couldn't help but reveal excitement upon hearing it once more. Mai Ning in particular was excited about the nature origin pill as it would vastly increase her chances of reaching core formation stage. But at that moment, Han Li's excitement slowly faded as he pondered about the matter. After some careful consideration, Han Li calmly replied, if the spirit fruit is in Devil Fall Valley, that explains why the Ghost Spirit sect went through such lengths to hire those treasure-seeking nascent soul cultivators and kill Marquis Nanlong for Master Kenkuan's treasure. Still, there are a few things I still don't understand that I need you to explain. I will not be braving this danger otherwise, despite how tempting the fruit may be. Brother Han, please don't hesitate to ask about anything. As this matter is important, we cannot have anything overlooked. Violet Spirit felt some admiration for Han Li having seen him so calm at the mention of the nature origin pill. Han Li stroked his chin and asked, while I did make a trip to the Mulan Plains, why is it that you sought me out? The one who knows best how to enter Devil Fall Valley should be Marquis Nanlong, unless you know of some other method to enter the valley. I know that Marquis Nanlong holds the method to enter the valley. However, with his rumored temperament, how could I dare to have a secret discussion with him? As for Brother Han, we know you to be someone who doesn't forget past friendships, and we feel far more at ease with you. With regards to entering the valley, that same Ghost Spirit sect disciple told me that their sect has been researching this method for a while now and their research is growing close to completion. While this person doesn't know the specific details, they did mention that the Ghost Spirit sect will be certain to act the next period where the spatial tiers in Devil Fall Valley stabilize. If Brother Han's cultivation isn't enough, then let us leave the matter be. After all, even if he safely enters the valley, who knows what calamitous dangers lie within. Once this was said, Violet Spirit revealed a hesitant expression. Han Li pondered to himself for a long while before sighing. The Ghost Spirit sect also has a way to enter the valley? This is the first time I've heard of this. But from your tone, it seems there isn't much information about it. How about this? It is still a few years before Devil Fall Valley's spatial tiers stabilize. Before then, make a few deeper inquiries and make certain that the information is true. If the Spirit Kindle fruit is truly within the valley, I will take the risk. As for cultivation, you don't need to worry about it. If I cannot succeed, then a mid-nascent soul cultivator likely wouldn't be able to either. Han Li didn't mention that Marquis Nanlong had earlier made contact with him about Devil Fall Valley. Although the spirit kindle fruit was truly tempting, Han Li need to further consider the matter. If the Ghost Spirit Sect's method of entering the valley was safer, he didn't need to mention Marquis Nanlong's matter to them. Violet Spirit wasn't dejected in the least from Han Li's vague answer. Rather, she was happy about it, knowing his cautious attitude. Those words were practically an agreement. Moreover, his tone may as well have confirmed the rumors to be true. With his current abilities, his chances of acquiring the spirit kindle fruit will be all the better. At that moment, she smiled and said, "In truth, the reason why we so impatiently sought out Brother Han was because we felt that if we didn't find a capable partner, this entire matter would result in nothing, and any further action would be in wasted effort. But now that Brother Han has agreed, we will feel more at ease investigating this issue. After all, we also wish to enter the valley. We don't wish to treat our lives as a joke." "What? You three wish to enter the valley?" When Han Li heard this, he felt his heart thump, and an expression of surprise appeared on his face. With a bitter smile, Violet Spirit helplessly said, "Does Brother Han think we want to enter the valley? We are only doing this out of necessity. A majority of ancient books only record its marvelous effects, but there were a few records that all pointed out that the spirit kindle fruit cannot survive once picked. It will need to be immediately refined in half a day. Once it exceeds that point, the fruit's medicinal power will vastly decrease, and at 3 days it completely disappears. But most terrible of all is the nature origin pills. If they aren't consumed shortly after they are refined, they completely lose their efficacy. As such, Devil Fall Valley is something that we must force ourselves to brave. It is better than remaining stagnant in our cultivation for 100 years, maybe even several hundreds." Han Li frowned. "I've looked through many ancient records, but not once have I heard that the spirit kindle fruit had such limitations. Why have I never heard of this before? Martial Uncle Han, there is an ancient book of secrets that was passed down from the ancestors of the Song clan. I have a copy of it right here. Please take a look at it." Much to his surprise, Cultivator Song took out a jade slip from her storage pouch and respectfully offered it to Han Li. An astonished expression appeared on his face, and he gave the woman a cautious glance before nodding and reading the jade slip with his spiritual sense. This ancient book introduced pills and medicines from times of antiquity, including a few that Han Li have seen before. They even gave a detailed explanation of the 9-curl spirit ginseng and included the pill formula that the Bone Sage had given him. He found many medicine pills that were quite useful towards nascent soul stage cultivators. Although the pill materials were lost since times of antiquity, it was always best to be prepared in case he found some unknown spirit medicine pill in the future, else he wouldn't know what to do with them. It appeared Cultivation Clan still had a few good things even large cultivation sects didn't have. Using his powerful spiritual sense, he was able to quickly find the spirit kindle fruit among the many entries in the jade slip. Sure enough, he found the limitations of the spirit kindle fruit and the nature origin pill within. He unconsciously frowned after reading them. A short moment later, he withdrew his spiritual sense, but rather than speaking, he rubbed the glossy surface of the jade slip and muttered to himself for a short moment. With great tact, Cultivator Song said, "I heard Big Sister Violet Spirit mention that Martial Uncle Han obtained great attainment with regards to pill refinement. This ancient record is of little value to our Song clan. Although there are many ancient pill formulas, the main ingredients for each of them aren't something that our Song clan are able of acquiring. If Martial Uncle doesn't find it disdainful, he may take the jade slip. Please consider it a gift for accepting our request, Martial Uncle." Han Li paused and took a deep look at the woman before smiling. With a moment of thought, he calmly said, "I've never been a cheap individual in my life. If the spirit kindle fruit is truly within the valley, I will also greatly benefit from it, so there is no need to reward me. It is likely that I would be gone to the valley anyway. However, this ancient book of yours is quite useful to me. How about I exchange it for some medicine pills for cultivation progression? These pills should be suitable for your current cultivation." Han Li then took a small green bottle from the storage pouch on his waist and handed it over to Cultivator Song. The woman unconsciously accepted the bottle, but her face appeared hesitant as if she were at a complete loss. When Violet Spirit saw this, she simply smiled. Violet Spirit chuckled and said, "Since it was given it to you, Big Sister Song should take it. Brother Han's pill refinement techniques are truly vast. The pills are most likely refined from some high-grade demon cores. It will definitely bring your cultivation to the next stage. There is no need to hold back with business. Cultivator Song revealed delight upon hearing Violet Spirit. She repeatedly uttered thanks to Han Li before carefully putting the medicine bottle away. Han Li smiled and took away the jade slip. Since the Spirit Kindle fruit and the Nature Origin pill cannot be preserved, it seems you three will be heading into the valley. If you are going straight to the Spirit fruit and head nowhere else, there is a good chance of leaving intact. But for now, you should first gather together the supplementary materials for the Nature Origin pill. Although these ingredients aren't nearly as rare as the Spirit Kindle fruit, they will be difficult to find. Han Li then sighed and solemnly said, with regards to the details, I will only make a decision once everything is understood. After all, this matter is still quite a while away. If we are defeated in the war against the Mulan, the matter about Devilfall Valley can't even be considered. By then, we'll be attempting to retain our place in the Heavenly South. The three were startled upon hearing Han Li, and Mai Ning couldn't he help but ask, what? Senior Han, doesn't he seem confident in this war? Han Li noncommittally said, it's hard to say. At first glance, the united forces of the Heavenly South along with the home terrain advantage should be able to prevail against the Mulan. Even if the Heavenly South's three great cultivators and the Heavenly Dao Alliance's Long Han and Feng Bing are able to restrain the Mulan divine sages, those black-robed men are of unknown origins. They clearly belong to an external power meddling on our wary. They may cause something unexpected to happen. Violet Spirit's expression turned grave. From what you're saying, the odds of victory for either side are even. It can be said that way. However, the most likely possibility is Han Li's gaze flickered and his voice grew inaudible, much to the three women's surprise. Han Li shook his head and calmly said, all right. That's enough of that. No one truly knows how the war will turn out in the future. You simply need to make preparations for entering Devilfall Valley. Let us see if it is possible when the time comes. Who knows what might happen? Afterwards, Han Li no longer spoke of it. Rather, he curiously asked about what Mai Ning and Violet Spirit have been doing these past few days. At the same time, Han Li answered the excited questions about his escape from the Mulan Divine Sage. Since speaking in such pleasant company as these three beauties was truly a delightful matter, time quickly passed by. When Han Li saw that the sky had darkened, he took his leave. Cultivator Song also parted with him, with Violet Spirit and Mai Ning seeing them off at the valley's entrance. When they departed, Han Li saw that Mai Ning hesitated to say something several times, but in the end, she bit her lip and remained silent. Han Li felt his heart throb at seeing her blush, and he turned his gaze to Violet Spirit, who looked at him with a mysterious smile. Unconsciously feeling a trace of embarrassment, he didn't dare to say any longer. With a parting word, Han Li flew off as a streak of azure light, bringing Cultivator Song with him back to Sky First City.